Hello, my name is Stefan Hessenbruch and I welcome you to the webinar, and I will show you today iGrafx Origins and how it works, which components we do have, and what are the targets we want to fulfill with the system. You're all in muted mode. If you want to ask questions, you should have in the working environment of the webinar application a chat window or a window where you can ask your questions, and when I'm through with my presentation I will have a look into the question library to give you hopefully the answers. So, iGrafx Origins, what is it and why should a company use that? We are able to target different kinds of problems or of tasks you want to fulfill today. So iGrafx is well known as a business process management company. We have created the software for a very long time, beginning of the 90s, to create process diagrams and other kind of diagrams. The system evolved over the years, and today we have a system that is full web capable. It could be run as a cloud application, but you can also run the server on premises within your own environment. The system fulfills two big blocks of capability. One is the capability of document management. That means we can have any kind of documents in the database. We have versioning, cycles like approval, control, and so on. So the document management is integrated, and we also have a section where we can model objects to target the area of business architecture. Let's start with the business architecture and what it can do for us, because this is the most advanced and the most wanted thing with medium-sized or big companies as of today. People would like to understand how the things in their own company interact and how it all comes together. To do that, of course, we also have processes in here. So you can see that the whole process library with the hierarchy can be modeled. So for example, this example here is made of the process classification framework of the AQPC organization. You can see different process sections, and if I click on the little plus, you can see that there are sub-processes in here, and I can drill down through my process landscape. As said, this is an object-oriented approach. That means every little red ellipse here is standing for one process, and this process, if I click on one of the processes here, might have some other attributes and relationships to other processes. The relationships can be seen here. So as an example, I can see that this process, measure customer satisfaction, has a relationship to an IT system. The performance measurement system is important in that process. We also have relationships to company strategies. Now, these might be strategies that our top-level management said this is what we want to achieve over the time. With goals, we could define that in more preciseness. performance indicators that you can see here that are used for measuring the process are in here. The process could also have risks. Now, earthquake is not a right one. Let me delete that. And so with these relationships to other objects, we are able to create a lot of combinations with other object types in our database. So starting with process objects, you understand that we can create a process architecture showing the whole hierarchy of all the processes. You've seen different other relationships. So for example, to risks, where's it coming from? Down here, you can see a risk catalog, and these risks are modeled in here. So a risk manager can contribute with his knowledge to the business process management system by defining, hey, these are the risks and the catalog of risks available to our company, and these are all possible risks that we have. Now the question is, where do we have our risks? And this is where the relationships come in handy. So I can create a relationship from my process object to a risk or to a risk instance. So I can see that I have several risks on my process here. If I go on the main page of the process object, you can also see that if you have values put to the risks, that these values can be seen in here. We will come back to the risk and risk management and what we can do in here a little later and have a little closer look to it. Now, it is important to understand that we are able with the objects to create a hierarchy in the section that is of interest for us and make a combination with other objects. So now let's have a look in the resources section. As you can see here, I have a hierarchy of departments and jobs in the departments. This is probably in a standard company the organizational chart that looks like here, that we have departments, sub-departments, jobs connected in here. Now, if we have a closer look to one of the objects, for example, the president and CEO, and I go back to the relationships, you can see here that I have a person responsible for that job. There might be other jobs where we have multiple persons doing the same thing. I think I have something available in the operations, manufacturing, production staff. Here, for example, oh no, I don't have it in here. But we could have a lot of people that are performing on the same job. So these resources can be used, like here, to make a RACI relationship. So who is responsible for, accountable for, consulted about, and informed about. And our job, president and CEO, is informed about these two processes and about that requirement and this process. Why do I know that this is a requirement? Well, this is the little icon and I know it, but I can also go on the relationship here to see what it is. So it tells me in the repository Global Corporation EMEA, it is a requirement. Okay, so why do we go through all that? Let me explain that with the most useful thing you can get out of this kind of modeling. And these are the reports. So if I have a little look in my report section, then you can see I have different sections that I created in my system. And these reports are objects that have a setting, and these reports help me to analyze the objects and their relationships. I've shown you a little earlier that we had process objects that had a relationship to a risk. Now I can create, for example, a risk value report, and in that report I filter for all objects of the type process that has a risk, and I show some data on them. So I want to see the risk itself. If the risk is controlled by something, I want to see that, risk category, and so on. So I don't want to go through all the details with you here. Let's just click on report to see the result of that report. And this is the beauty of process objects with their relationships. I can just click on the report and get all the important information that I want to see. So here in the first column, you see my process objects, so all the processes that have a risk. In the second column, you can see what risks are dedicated to what process. So that process has 3 different risks. The first risk here is controlled by business rules or controls. And these controls are mitigating the risk, so we have a lower residual risk value. And you can see it on the right-hand side. The risk itself is calculated by impact and likelihood, which gives us an inherent risk value. And because it is controlled by 2 controls or business rules, we have a residual risk value, which shows the effect of the mitigation of that risk. All that just by clicking on the report. Another example I showed you is that process objects can have resources dedicated to it. So for example, the RACI, who is doing what or who is accountable for what. I also showed you an IT system that was modeled in the supported by area. That means that we can easily go into other process objects and have, like that here, show me processes with RACI. So here I can see my processes again and who is responsible, who is accountable, who needs to be consulted about the process, who is informed about the process. All these reports are created by using an easy-to-use scripting language. So a person knowledgeable on how to do these reports can create the reports and provide it to whoever needs those in a company. Other types of reports would target other relationships between other objects. So what can be done in iGrafx? Strategies, for example. People in the top level management define strategies, and on the strategies we might have goals, and below the goals we might have performance indicators. So the top level management team has a complete structure to get control of where do the company want to go to, how do we want to achieve that, and where are we today by measuring that in performance indicators. Now, iGrafx is able to do that, and that brings me to another topic. We have dashboards available in iGrafx, and these dashboards can show us performance data of whatever you are interested in. So this is, for example, the result of some performance indicators that are connected to either a goal or to any other kind of object. Now, in that example here, I can see again, I see the customer satisfaction for the EMEA region, for the US region, and Asia Pacific. Now, where is that data coming from that you can see here? Let me go back in the model. I already led you to the Manage Customer Service section, and we had a look to the Measure Customer Satisfaction process. Now, this process object has different sub-objects. There are some sub-processes we have below it, and we have some performance indicators that are directly connected to that process object. And we have one chart. A chart can show various performance indicators in one window. Down here, we can see the direct values, what is current, what was the previous value. If I go on a performance indicator directly, you can see here that it has data and that the data is represented in a chart. As soon as I enter new data, it is updated instantly. And I can choose if I want to see, let me go on edit, if I want to see it as a spline or as a bar chart with bars or area chart. You can see that in the background that it is switching instantly for another look and feel. I can enter or see the thresholds for the limits. Where is my red area starting? Yellow, the blue one is my target that I want to reach, and so on. In a real customer environment, we are not entering the data in the tool. Well, it's possible too, but usually in a custom environment, the management wants to get the data from the real data sources. iGrafx is able to show these dashboards with data that is drawn or read out of real existing systems. So here, unfortunately, that is completely in German. Let me go back to another one maybe. So that's another example here where my team is using the connection to our cloud system Salesforce. If you don't know Salesforce, it's a cloud application for customer relationship management. We are a customer of Salesforce, so we use it, and I wanted to see data from Salesforce in the iGrafx dashboard because it's a little harder to read in Salesforce, and I want to set it up in the way I can use it best. So we connect it to the Salesforce system. We import the data automatically on a daily basis, and I can see here in that case our support case queue where cases in our support queue, how many days are they open, and so on. So I can go back in the history, I can have a look how it looked like a year ago or two, and yeah, this is an instrument that I use by myself to see if my team needs assistance or help if the customer cases are open too long. So what I want to say is iGrafx is able to connect to any data source you have to show the data that is most interesting to you. And in the case that we see here, it is very easy to set up different performance indicators to show in a dashboard, and as you can see, you can have multiple dashboards. So the CFO might be interested in his financial data that is coming out of a data warehouse system or an SAP system. We can read it and show it to him. The customer support director might want to see all the cases that are open right now, a waiting queue in the telephone line, and so on. So there might be a lot of possible data sources in your company that you would find it valuable to read data from and show it in a dashboard. And this helps the people to govern and steer the company or department in the right direction. Dashboards can not only be used for performance data, as you can see here. A dashboard could also be used to show just some text or to show for one department the most important process diagrams, processes, a balanced scorecard with some traffic light functionality where you can see where we are in red, green, amber area, and so on. It can also show to-do lists, so items to review, to approve, and so on and so on. So a dashboard can not only show performance indicator data, but it could also be a dashboard for a target group to show them their most important documents, diagrams, and so on, so that they don't have to drill down through a process landscape from top to the point where they find the valuable information. You can create dashboards for your target audiences, and they can set it as their default dashboard so they can easily find information they need. So we were starting with the object-oriented structure. I showed you what objects can do, that we can run reports on those objects, and that object lists and a performance indicator data can also be shown in dashboards. Now let's have a little look into the document management area of the system. We have a lot of clients that do not do anything with the object-oriented structure, even it is so powerful. We have a lot of clients that want to start with the document management area to create a graphical process landscape, add Word, PDF, Excel lists to the diagrams, and to make the process landscape easily navigatable by any kind of person in the company. If we have a look to that, it could start with a diagram like that. It's a top-level process landscape diagram that shows us an overview of the management processes, value chains, core processes, and service processes. If I want to drill down in one of the sections, for example, I want to learn more about how the process of deliver products and services looks like, I can just click on that and I'm led to the next level of our process landscape. This time I see everything that belongs to deliver products and services, including manufacture and deliver, manage, procure materials, and so on. Now if I go on the manage orders, I'm in the next level, and this can be done until I can see the lowest level of detail, in that case a BPMN diagram that shows which activities are done, what are the decisions to be made, and so on. These kinds of diagrams, how can we create those? Well, we have in iGrafx a web diagrammer and also a diagramming tool that needs to be installed. Now let me concentrate on what we can do in the web. And hey, by the way, we are always in the web browser. The whole time that I showed you stuff, I was in the web browser. iGrafx is capable of doing HTML5, so any modern web browser is usually sufficient. I would like to create a new process diagram in that folder here. So let me just click on that little plus icon up here. I want to create a new BPMN diagram. Now I can give it a name and I create the object. So you can see here that I have an empty space, and a person who wants to create new diagrams can start with a pool, adding new swim lanes, and so on. Now, if I want to have a start shape that triggers my process, I can just drag it in, and if I start typing on my keyboard, create or customer sends order. That's always the best. Okay, now if I click on the little button, I can start with typing my process. As you can see, while I am typing, the system is already verifying, are there objects in the database that contain these words? And if I find a process object that I would like to use here, I could do that if I want to. So if I click on that, a connection is made to a process object in the database. And if I already have relationships on that object, as you can see here on the right-hand side, we will instantly see all these relationships in the diagram we are creating. So you can see that as of a dump drawing that people usually create, you can have a lot of very valuable information if you connect these shapes to objects already existing in the database. If you don't have these, well, you could of course start with just typing your text and not connect it to anything in the database. Then you just have a diagram like you could create in any other tool. Okay, and yeah, next shapes come on in, and I don't think that I have to go through every detail what we can do in the graphical area. You can already see it's very easy to create the diagram also in the web browser. Now let me check in that document in the repository. So I want to save it, that is check in, and I want to release it so that any other person can work on the document. I can leave a comment, and now it's done. So if another person wants to continue working on that, or myself, you need to have the right to do that. So if I check out the document and continue working on it, So just some more texts, and I also would like to connect these lanes to the people who really do all the work here. And I can again use objects from our resource model that we already created. You remember I showed you a little earlier that we have the organizational structure set up here. So I could go into the sales area, and this is, for example, an order entry specialist, and this might be done by the EMEA sales director. So I just drag and drop objects to that to define who is doing what in that process diagram. So very easy to use with dragging and dropping the things in here. Okay, now I would like to check in my changes again. Yeah, I can leave another comment, doesn't matter right now. And I'm able to have a look into the history of the document. Why is that so important to have a history? Well, first of all, you're able to compare different versions to each other. So what was changed? I can go in an overlay and I can see the old version and I can go to the new version very easily. I could say I would like to have it side by side so you can see what changed here. The colors have a meaning. Orange means it's something that existed and was changed. Green is something that's new, so I added these here. And if you would see something red, then it means something was deleted. So this is a powerful feature for people that needs to approve documents, so they can easily verify what was really changed here. So I guess if you are a specialist in that area, you already recognized, hey, that's a very secure revision, solid documentation. That means the system is automatically creating new versions as soon as something changed, and you can always verify who changed it, when, and what was changed, even better with the compare version. So this feature can easily be used for any standards like an ISO 9000, ISO 27000, TS 16949, and. So if you need to go through audits in your company, an external or internal auditor has all the data needed to run their audits. Now, if the management team or the manager that is responsible for the processes needs to approve a document so it can be seen by all of the people, we also have the functionality in here. There are 3 different cycles available. One is a review cycle, an approval, and an endorsement cycle. The review cycle, the idea is that people can create documents, and if they are not sure if something is still forgotten or if they thought about everything, they can run a review cycle that is addressing the specialists that know the document and ask them to give feedback. The approval cycle is targeting the managers who can really approve the document so that it is available to the readers within your network. And the endorsement cycle, people need to know about documents sometimes. So if I'm working in a process, for example, the customer support process, I need to be informed if something changed. And if it's important, I might also be forced to say, yes, I read and understood it. And this is exactly what the endorsement cycle is doing. It addresses the people that need to know about the document. And those people have to say, yes, I read and understood the change. And this is tracked in the cycle. So any of these cycles have an audit trail that can be tracked. Let's do a little example with the approval cycle. I think I'm finished with my process diagram, and I would like to start the cycle now. Let's have a look first, who can approve. I defined here for this process a standard default approval group, which consists of two different subgroups. In the first, I have 4 or 5 people that need to complete the action. So we can also set up rules for these cycle groups. And the second group is one of the 2 needs to complete the action. And for both groups, it also says one of 2. So because my name is here in one of the groups, with this rule set, I'm allowed to approve the document on my own. So if I start the cycle, it's starting. The system is sending me an email with a link that I can click, and this link in the email brings me directly to that page. Then I can vote on the document. If I want to see it first, I can just go to the diagram, have a little look. I could put in some annotations. For example, here, I think some text is missing here. Okay. And you can see who wrote the annotation, when, and what is the content. The author could have the watch this object option on. That means he would get an email from the system, somebody put in a new annotation, and they can then work on the process, change that, and then delete the annotation again. But let's assume the process is fine, and I am the manager now that would like to approve it. So I can verify the document, and then I can leave a comment, vote yes or vote no, and submit. And because, as I said, my rule set was so defined that I am able to approve it alone, you can see a little green circle on the document, which means it is approved now, and you can see it here. And if I go back in the history, now you can see there were 3 different versions, and the version 0.3 was approved. And if I go into the view cycle, I can see who nominated it, who voted, and what was the result of the voting. So in that case, it was approved. So the document management section in iGrafx has all the features needed for a revision secure system. We have the automatic versioning. The system cannot be tricked by deleting old versions or something. So it's very secure here. You have the workflow cycles for approval, review, and endorsement directly built in the tool, and the system can handle any kind of document the same way like the diagram I just showed you. So if I go, for example, here into the supporting documentation folder, you can see different types of documents, like here a spreadsheet or a Word document, and you can see it also has a history, and I could jump to the very first version of the document that was created, or I could view a later version of the document. So very powerful with all kinds of documents you might want to work on. Okay, so again, let me go back to my diagram and to finalize what I started with. We first went into the business architecture section, and I tried to show you how objects can be used and how they can be helpful for a company. And then we went into the document management section, and I showed you a diagram that I created. Now, bringing these two worlds together, I already showed it a little earlier. So if I type some characters and I see, hey, there is an object in the database and I would like to connect that object here, it can be done very easily. What if I want to create an object with some performance indicators, with some risk information, who is accountable, but the object is not yet existing? Well, then I could just create one in the proper area. So here, for example, in let me go to market and sell products and services, develop marketing strengths, blah, blah. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Let me just create a new process object here. And I would like to use the text here, copy. Okay, and create object. Okay, and I said I would like to add some relationships on my new object here. So for example, who is accountable? Let me search for the role CFO. Okay, choose. And I would like that this is supported by another system. So for example, we have a software called Confluence, and I want to make it in the supported by section, and somebody needs to be informed about the process. For example, the CEO. Let me choose that job here. Okay. And we might want to add a measurement if available. And let me just pick that. Okay, that's it. And now I want to use that object in my process documentation. So here we go, BPM and diagram. And what I can do now is either I just type that and pick it, or if I don't want to do it like that, I can also just drag and drop the object down here. And as said before, you see instantly all the other relationships that we already created on the object. So for people in your company that only have access to the diagrams, they can very easily see all the relevant information for every process step in the system in a very easy to read block here on the right hand side. People who would like to analyze all these relationships that have more a bird eyes view on the system, they can use the section here with the reports, and create exactly the reports they are interested in. Risk and control report, for example, or in the process management section, show me all processes that have a connection to company strategies, or all the processes that have a goal defined and which goals, or work product flows, input-output relationship between processes and external agents. Show me all processes that have a KPI defined. Now the KPI is not shown here because the report is missing that detail. Yeah, okay. And now I can see performance indicators connected to processes. So a lot of possibilities are available, and remember, you can report on any relationship that you are interested in and get valuable information out of that. Okay, so we started with having a look into the business architecture area, how to create objects and relationships. Now we had a look into the diagramming part, and I used the web diagrammer to create a BPMN diagram, make a connection to the business architecture to be able to see all the relevant information here. And we had a look into the document management section, where we were able to run cycles, approve documents, and see the history of documents. The whole system has a lot more to offer to the people. One example is these little orange indicators. Maybe you recognize those. They can tell people, hey, since your last login or your last view of objects, here are some new changes that you've seen. And if I go to one of the objects and go in the history, I can see when and what was changed. So the system is very easy to read if your people want to understand what's new or what's the latest changes. Another thing, if I log into the system, I'm logged in with my username, and I can see the red 13 here. That means I have 13 tasks to do in the system. So this is my to-do list, and if I go on it, I will see all the documents I have to approve or that I have to endorse or to review. And you can see it all in here. So the system is very powerful. It's running, as I said, in the cloud environment or on premises. What else can we do within the iGrafx framework? If I have processes designed like we did with our example process that we created here, these processes could also very easily put into execution. That means we are able to model these process diagrams with some extra information and run it as a workflow, as an executed workflow. So as you can see here, I can set target durations, different tasks that need to be done, and so on. I have one let me see. This is unfortunately in German, so let me take another one. I have an HD problem-solving process that was put into execution. And an 8D problem-solving process is a process where when you identify a problem in your production environment, and the problem might result from a problem of one of your suppliers, you need to identify and describe the problem, and then as well a team of the supplier and your own supplier quality assurance department. They have to establish a team and work together to contain the problem and bring a solution to it. So this process was designed in our tool and then put into an automation environment. Now, let me switch the interface and let me log into the other system. Now, I am a process manager now that logs into the automation system. And as a manager, I have access to two different processes. So one is the 8D problem-solving process, another one is an application process. So I would like to have a closer look to that. And let's assume somebody identified a problem. I could start a new problem, and as you can see, the process starts with a form. So every workflow can have a form that is following a new transaction or a new instance of the process. So I can put some data in here. So who am I, who is issuing the problem, where do I live, and so on and so on. Date of issuing is today, my employee ID, phone number, and so on and so on. And I also can predefine values for this form. So we have supplier 1 with all the data connected to it. And I can make a problem description, product family, and so on. So whatever kind of workflow you have in mind, you can design your own form for that workflow. So if you would like to have a process that is executed in the process automation engine, for example, a sales entry process, then you might have a form that asks for the customer name, the order types of the customer, the products they order, all the services, and so on. So this form can be freely designed. Now, if I start the process by submitting what I entered in the form so far, it is starting a new instance of that process. Now, let me log in as one of the people from the supplier quality assurance team. I go out of that process manager interface and log in service quality assurance team in the to-do client. Oops. Okay, and here you can see this is the new process that I just entered with all the data, and because I am one of the employees of the service quality team, I am getting that new instance of the process in my working list. So this is the list that my team has to work on, and as you can see here, I have 1 hour time to do that, and there is a colored bar running. So it starts with green color from left to red, and when my time went out, it is pure red. So there are other tasks that I should have done hours or days ago, and this is the new one. So if I work on that and I want to describe some more. I analyzed what product family is affected, what is the product number, volume, and so on and so on. So I can add more data. There are other parts in the form that I am not allowed to manipulate now as a supplier quality assurance team member. So it is controllable what you are able to manipulate in the form and also what to see. In that example, I show parts of the form that are usually targeting the supplier of our company. Usually I would not have to see that in my working environment. So this can be defined and controlled by the system. If I've done my first task of the process, and by the way, I can always see where we are in the process right now, and when I say I finished that task, I can mark it as finished, and then the process goes forward. And as you can see here, I now have the next task in my system, in my working list, and as you can see, I am working on the next activity here, and now I have 4 hours time and need to do some more work. So I can go back in the smart form, get the data, work on it, I can upload documents, and so on and so on, until that is finished. Let me go back to the process manager's view on that. A process manager has the possibility to get an overview of all the instances of the process. So I can see how many instances are on which activity. And if I see a big peak, I could have a closer look to why is that so? What is the problem on that? Is my team needing help of that? I can go on the instances here and have a look on that, on the data, who is working on it, and so on and so on. So also for the management team, that view gives a great help of overlooking where are we today with our process performance, do we have problems anywhere, where can I as a manager help my people to get the problem run smooth and nice. Okay, so going back to where we started, you now learned that iGrafx can help you with a lot of things. We can have an easy to navigate process landscape with complete document management so that people can easily drill down from the top level to the area of interest where they want to see other documents and so on. If you have other documents in the system, they of course can be linked to any kind of shape so that people have access to it. We were able to get dashboards for the top level management to present them with performance data, for example, financial data. So it's a complete dashboard and cockpit system that helps management to understand where are we today, no matter what kind of data is in here. And with the section of the object-oriented modeling, as a business analyst, as an IT specialist that wants to define the IT environment, as a person that is working with auditors on ISO 9000, for example, or other standards, as a risk manager, and so on. You can work with the object, create the relationships and be able to easily analyze all these relationships and show the data that is important to you, that helps you on a daily basis to get your area under control. So, and at last I showed you also that iGrafx is not only a tool for documentation and architecture, we can also execute processes, bring them to life to be able to run workflows in your environment. That helps that people really have to follow the process, that they have to say, okay, I completed that task, and that a manager can always see where are we and what else needs to be done. So a complete BPM suite with a lot of possibilities, and I think it's also very easy to use. Okay, so I think there have been some questions. Let me see if I can get that on my other screen. So is there a possibility to talk on the simulation function? I can do that in a second. Also perhaps on how you can use the system to benchmark, set goals, and run hypothetical examples of business cases for evaluation. I think I did that. So if you, let me go back to that. If you want to get performance data and do benchmarks with it, what you do is that you go in here, define your performance indicators that you want to see, and then you can go in the data and say, okay, with my setting, I have limits, I have targets, and I always want to see where we are against the target. You could also, and actually we did that in one of our examples. In that examples, we created an automated workflow where people are working in that workflow, and we are measuring the real time people need to fulfill a task and compare it with the time that was set in the system. So we have an as-is time for an activity and compare it or benchmark it with should-be time, so that the managers can see where are we above time, where are we below the time. So this is just one example. In that case, we use data from our own workflow. This could be data from anywhere in your company where you want to use data for benchmarking. For example, sales development in the northern, middle, or south part of your country. So you could compare that with each other. So that's really open to do that. So as promised, a little more about process simulation. Process simulation is not possible in the web environment, so you need to have our installed tool. In that case, I opened iGrafx Process for Six Sigma, and in that tool, I'm able to run simulations. I have a simulation, hopefully available here. So that's a loan application simulation. Again, we have created a diagram with some different departments who is doing that. And in a simulation, I have to define for every single activity, how long does it take? If I have decisions like here, I have to define the outputs. when do we take the one or the other path. I could have probabilities like here, yes, in 99% of all cases, 1% is going to no, and so on. So the behavior of the process in the simulation is done with all the settings we can do in here. So what resources are needed, how long does it take, what are the outputs, what are the inputs to process, and so on and so on. And if this was done, you set the input of the process, and then you can run a simulation and trace it like I do here right now. So you can see what's going on in the process. Blue means working, yellow means waiting, so we have waiting queues running up. And yeah, if I want to stop the trace mode and start the simulation, then you will get reports, and these reports by time, cost, resource utilization and resource times, waiting queues, and a custom area. You will get all the data you need to understand how your process works, and with that knowledge you can analyze where the bottleneck is in your process and then modify the model to run what-if scenarios and yeah, then to optimize the process with that. Why doing a process simulation? Because you don't have to disturb the real-life process. You can do all of the tests you want very easily in the application. If you say, okay, what if we have a shorter decision time here because we use an extra tool for that? Well, just put in another processing time, rerun the simulation, and say the new report, I want to append it to the existing one, run it, and then you can directly compare the different simulation runs with each other. Okay, so this is the process simulation and how we can use it and do it in iGrafx. Okay, I hope that was interesting for you. It was just a little more than 1 hour fly through in iGrafx. I hope you find that it can bring a lot of value in different areas to your company. And if you are interested to see more details, or you would like to go a little more into depth with the one or the other area, we're here to help. So I think Hein is your direct contact over there. So feel free to contact him and ask him for more information or more details. So that's from my side of today. I didn't see more questions coming in. So thank you very much for your interest and have a nice day. Bye-bye.